Hey guys, welcome back. Drip Coach here with Drip and Farm for Poverty, where we don't trust, we verify, and operate with integrity and transparency. Man, Jack Mallers just dropped probably the most emotionally raw and mind-warping breakdown of the monetary system and why Bitcoin is more than just money. It is a revolution. And he goes into some bits and pieces of his upbringing and why it's kind of so near and dear to his heart. So I'm just going to play a few of these clips. This was at Bitcoin Prague. Would have been last week by the time you're watching this clip, but I highly recommend you go out there and search for this. You can go to BTC Prague and watch it directly from their channel. Jack Mallers delivers the best Bitcoin explanation of all time. And again, we're just going to play a few clips and let you kind of make your own decision on it. So this first one is about 5 minutes, and it's kind of his intro into Bitcoin. So he comes from some humble beginnings, but he has been in Bitcoin since damn near its inception.
What I want my generation to understand, and a lot of the media that's really hard on us, they say, Bitcoin's just for hedge fund bros. It's just for the youth to go get bottle service, and it's Miami yachts. It's not. My generation is struggling. It's not an investment. It's a revolution first. You see, government debt to me is a form of time travel. If we could just print money, why is there such thing as world hunger? Why is there such thing as poverty? Why is there such thing as depression? Who's burdening the cost? But your jobs and your growth and your income is exploding. Is it though? It's blue's fault. It's the red's fault. It's the left's fault. It's the right fault. It's Trump's fault. It's Biden's fault. Is it though? You're literally traveling into the future and spending my resources to go to war, to waste and spend money and grow debt. Hey, my girlfriend told me I shouldn't do this, but I feel like I got to give you guys a little bit of a warning before we get started. This is going to be a bit of a different talk than I usually give, a bit more personal, but just something that I feel like I really need to say. Recently, I would say more broadly in Bitcoin, but specifically for my career, I've spent a lot of time on Wall Street. I've co-founded a new company. It's called 21, and Wall Street and a lot of billionaires and big deals and big business, or politicians and presidents and government. But that's not really who I am. I'm part of the youth. I'm not a 60-year-old billionaire. I'm not, Jerome Powell, Jamie Dimon, Donald Trump, right? I mean, these older guys that I watch make decisions, and I find it hard to relate to them. And I think that there's a story from my generation and those that are younger than me that isn't necessarily told. And I think that there's a way I want the world to view Bitcoin that isn't necessarily about compound annual growth rate or billions of dollars or getting rich. So I'll start out with chapter 1, some Millennials Manifesto. So this is a talk about the cost of our inheritance as the youth. This is me. So I'm the founder and CEO of Strike. I'm the founder and CEO of 21. But I'm also young, man. I'm a millennial by like 12 months. And this is me. This is my coding bootcamp graduation. So that's my dad, my stepmom, and I. I was texting my stepmom and I was like, I'm going to give this really personal talk. And do you have any fun photos? And she said, you should show everyone that you grew up on Bitcoin. So everyone's probably seen like the Andreas Antonopoulos empty rooms of what was it like to be in Bitcoin in 2013. There's a first person photo. That was me in 2014, listening to Andreas in a room of about 20 people. I'm staring at a massive crowd in Europe right now. This was my first ever Bitcoin keynote. It was in 2015 in a bar. So I'm so blessed, man. I really appreciate you guys so much. But yeah, my first Bitcoin keynote, there were about 4 people in the crowd and 3 of them were my family. So shout out to that one guy. I don't know where you are. This was Christmas for me and my family in 2013. All of these phones, these are our phones as kids, and those are gift cards we loaded up with Bitcoin. So my dad probably spent generational wealth on some shoes for us. But the point of these slides is, I'm younger than Michael Saylor, man. I'm younger than Jamie Dimon. I'm younger than Jerome Powell. I'm younger than Donald Trump. I grew up as a college dropout that was lucky enough to have access to computers and the internet and, the Western American dream of, optimism and opportunity. And I had access to an iPhone in 2013 with Bitcoin on it. It's not a bad time to be alive.
So that's just a kind of a fresh take that I've never seen from Jack. I know he's young and I know he got, started in Bitcoin early, but it's kind of interesting just to see him speak on this. And yeah, he's probably the youngest Bitcoin company CEO, I guess you would say, out there. And So he comes at it from a different angle than, yeah, like the retirees or people 60 years old and stuff like that he's talking about that he's got to work with, because they're looking for it as just a means to fund their latter years. Whereas him, it's like he calls it a revolution, but it's also the only option forward, because, and I've never heard anyone else use this phrase, but he says, you know, inflation or basically money printing is time travel. It's stealing the economic value from the future, from the children, basically. So government debt is a form of time travel where you're literally spending my future resources today without my consent. That's powerful. That is crazy. Like when you think about that, and it's true. So he's saying every dollar printed today is a dollar stolen from tomorrow's children, from your children. I don't have any kids, but I can look back and definitely see, I showed you guys this in another clip. And you can probably hear from your parents as well. It's like, oh, when I was a kid, things used to cost blah, blah, blah. But we don't really, I think, understand what that means or why that happened or how it transpired and took place. We just see, yeah, things cost one amount before and now they cost more and life goes on, right? But it's what Jack just mentioned. It's actually theft without your consent. So if, and I heard this from Robert Breedlove, and it makes perfect sense. If you were to make your own money in your own room or basement or wherever, it's considered counterfeiting. It's illegal. You'll go to jail. But if the central bank does it, it's just, I forgot what the word he used, but it's not counterfeiting. It's whatever economic term they've come up with to stimulate the economy, basically. Like it's legal at that stage. Like that is mind numbing when you think about it. Let's go to this next clip where he's going to be showing a bunch of different charts of all sorts of indicators that have basically said the country has gone to shit. So I'm going to give you the TLDR. It's gone to shit in every measurable metric since we got off the gold standard in 1971.
Which is, this is the Wall Street Journal. It's the Magnificent Sevens market. The other stocks are just living in it. Because as a youthful person, they say, the economy's booming. You're so lucky to have the stock market. Is it though? I mean, these 7 companies are booming, but the rest of the stock market is shit. They're like, we're about freedom and prosperity. Are you though? Because this is growth of the US sanctioning countries. So we're gonna print these pieces of paper, force you to use it with violence, and then weaponize your access to it. They're like, well, all the bad things, it's the blues' fault, it's the reds' fault, it's the left's fault, it's the right fault, it's Trump's fault, it's Biden's fault. Is it though? Looks like everyone's doing it. They're like, well, it's all contextual. Yeah. And they say, and they tell us this in school. And they say, well, you gotta add context, you know. These numbers make a lot more sense when you realize the size of the economy. Really though? Because percentage of GDP, we have more debt than we did at World War II. But I just went to school. We're not in war. Well, we always are somehow, but not in a world war. And they say, but your jobs and your growth and your income is exploding. Is it though? It is on Wall Street, but not for my friends. It's not. And so chapter 3 is the dilemma we chose. What I don't think people know is we, as in the West in America, we chose this.
So that one, this chart here, I was like, man, that is fascinating. When you actually look at this, the middle 60% over the last 40 years have seen only 70% income change in the last 40 years, 73%. So that's pretty much, you know, the average person, right? That's the bulk of the population, 73%. And then if you're in the bottom 20, you're actually doing damn near double. Then, so if you're in poverty, I don't know if that's considered poverty in the US, but if you're in the bottom 20%, you're doing twice as good as the middle class or middle percent, whatever you want to call that. I don't know what this actually salary range is, but that is fascinating. And then you get to 2.5 times more of the bottom 20 at the top 1%. So yeah, they have done the absolute best. And again, these are just a bunch of different metrics to show us one thing. We are being lied to, gaslit, and our future economic value stolen right from underneath our noses. And again, that Bitcoin is more than just a monetary vehicle. It's more than just a unit of savings. It is literally the economic life raft. It is the future. It is the only way out of this fiat Ponzi rat race, because it's only going to get worse. With the debt like this, there's only two things that can happen: hyperinflation, and the economy destroys itself and then resets, and I can't even think of what the other one is actually, or they just, yeah. So before you get the hyperinflation, you just continue paying more money. So that's number one. Things just cost more. Then eventually, as that gets out of hand, you reach hyperinflation because the debt is just so high. So that's the two options, depending on your time horizon. Now let's get into these last few clips and we'll wrap it up.
Look at the cost. Because I want to be super clear about something and have the back of my generation. We export dollars, but you know what else we export? Our jobs, our health, our stability, and our well-being. The cost of printing money is not paid in dollars. You hear very often, it's like, we have a lot of debt, but we could just print it, right? The cost isn't paid in the pieces of paper they print. You want to know what it's paid in? I'll tell you what it's paid in. It's paid by us, the people in this room, and especially the youth. We've been sold that global reserve status is some form of superpower and that I'm lucky. It's a disease. What about families? How have families performed since 1971? This is child per woman. We're in a population crisis. You see that line? That's when we started printing money. That's weird, isn't it? What about the percentage of children born to unwed women? It's not race specific. This is a global problem. What about the median age people are getting married, creating family, creating bond, growing the world? That's weird, isn't it? What about divorce? Does anyone know what the divorce rate is today as I talk to you? 50%. How many kids out there on YouTube watching this have lived through a painful divorce? I have. You remember that picture I showed you guys of my family? That was my stepmom. I have. How many kids have been through terrible depression because you grow up watching your family erode? I have. What about health? That's weird. As soon as we started printing money, we started printing industrial sludge to put in our gut. Huh. Turns out when you print money and you export the very fabric of society and you make everything about the marginal cost to produce things, you disease your food. That's weird. Since 1971, we're eating less beef, eggs, and milk, and we're eating more corn, cooking oils, and rice. That's weird, right? What about obesity? Do you guys know that in the United States, there's a such thing as an obese 2-year-old? What happened in 1971? That's weird. What about the cost it takes to keep us alive? Do you know that the life expectancy in Japan is about 10 to 15 years longer than that of the West? Look at the growth in health expenditures and healthcare versus the growth of the population. We're all sick. We all have metabolic disease. Cancer is growing faster than it ever has before. It seemed to start in 1971. That's weird. What about the housing crisis? That's weird. Housing's getting a lot more expensive, but we're not getting paid anymore. What? That's not what Trump told me. That's weird. This is housing in New York and Boston, and this is how much those people are getting paid. This is how long it took to save for a house before we started printing money. Now it takes a decade. What about inequality? I mean, I don't even know what to say anymore. This is hourly compensation versus net productivity. That's weird. This is the 95th percentile's growth in wealth versus the rest of us. All in 1971. That's weird. The share of young people my age living in their parents' basement is higher today than it was in the Great Depression. I'm going to say that again. There are more people 18 to 29 living in their parents' house because they're depressed and they're jobless and they're in debt than there was during the Great Depression. That's weird.
I'll pause it there. So there's a couple more slides, but this one again echoes what I mentioned in the previous video about something's going to break because the boomers are retiring. Both of my parents are retired. I guess there might be some still on the younger end of the boomer curve, not quite there. But either way, they all got, a decade, maybe two, maybe even 2.5, 3, living the golden years of basically trying to fund their retirement, right? And typically, if you have a house that you had kids in as a boomer and you're retiring, you're not going to be staying in that house as you get older, especially with upkeep. And maybe like my house, a four bedroom, 2-story, and it's already too much for my mom to take care of by herself. So who's going to buy those houses? I mean, I guess in this slide, it could just be given to the younger generation. Like, these are 18, 29-year-olds are not kids of boomers. But the point is that it's harder and harder for the youth to purchase these assets due to the costs getting rolled into that. Like Jack showed a previous slide where it's like saving for a decade. So something again has to break. There is going to be some kind of shift. I don't know what it's going to be. I do believe, again, the US will continue to be the world reserve currency for quite some time, but I believe Bitcoin is definitely coming on the scene. But as you can see with all these slides and with your own eyes, looking at the cost of things out in wherever you're at, it's not getting better. So the only escape hatch is Bitcoin. And I would put a stamp on top of that, Bitcoin, and living somewhere else other than a Western country where the inflation is, eating away your cost of living. There might be some other countries out there that are doing better. I just can only speak from the US, being back there recently, and of course raised and stuff from there. So I don't know how Europe and Australia, how they're doing, but from what I understand, it's not too much better. So something again has to change. Something's got to break. And if you're watching this content and you've been orange pilled, then you have a moral responsibility to, put on your life raft, or how's the thing go in the airplane? Put your mask on first, because you can't help someone, or as the old saying goes, you can't feed someone from an empty plate. So you need to start doing whatever it is you need to do to secure your future, and then educating others, like Jack showed in his initial part of this keynote, being at these events and talking with others and sharing the gospel of Bitcoin. So yeah, I highly encourage you to get out there and take a look at this whole video. It's got some, like I said, some emotionally raw, charged content, and still some data. So tons of supportive charts to back up what he's saying, but all you gotta do is open your eyes and you see it for yourself. All right, that's all I got. Smash that HBO special, help a brother out, like, subscribe, comment down below, and until next time, live daily and achieve your impossible. See ya.